lot of accomplishments, a lot of positives that he can point to. But do you think, I mean, how do you feel about the execution of some of the things like the Light Lease, the early days of the Light Lease in this administration?
Oh, that I think that a lot of folks have forgotten that less than a year ago, the mayor was threatening to sue AEP, one of our largest corporate and most generous corporate entities. That he bogged down he wants to talk about how he's the champion of the people. Well, if you're really a champion, then you're doing everything you can to keep the rates low for people, because we have to pay our light bills. And we want to keep those rates low. We want to keep the energy flowing through the community. Mayor Henry was trying to get as much money out of those rates as he could. That was just about grabbing the money. Then, when he did structure the deal and finally came to terms with I&M, he structured a deal that pays him out $145,000 a month. How is that money going to be used? How are we going to guarantee that that doesn't just disappear into the general fund of city operations? How do we make sure that that money is designated in a way that builds long-term sustainability for this community and is used in a focused way? I am a strong believer in the stability of the neighborhoods, and we need good sidewalks and street lights and curbs need to be maintained. But if we spend $70 million on sidewalks and curbs, then we will have done this community a disservice. We have to do something that it leaves a long-term mark for the community and propels the community, builds jobs, and creates an environment that helps this community succeed for generations to come. Because if we spend all the money on sidewalks, we're going to have to patch them in 5 years. And again, it's the long-term sustainability, and I'm very disappointed in the way that's been handled, and I'm particularly disappointed in the fact that all anybody's talking about is spending it. Why this big compulsion to spend money? Why are we not looking at eradicating our debt?
Kind of along with that, CEDIT bonding. That has been a kind of an issue that a couple on council, Mitch Harper and Councilman Smith, Councilman John Schoaf in particular, have really been champions of trying to get that mentality changed.
That's right, because it's very short term. And I'll tell you, the analogy I'm using when I talk to people in the community is you can't keep leapfrogging credit card payments. That's something that most people understand. When you've got, and those CEDIT bonds aren't that different from that. The city, in 2009, the city of Fort Wayne received $23 million in CEDIT revenues. 11 million of that went to debt payments. Nearly half of it. That's crazy. That's not investing for the community. We're going to be paying for generations for things that people 20 years ago wanted. That is not the way to long-term success for our community. I don't live my life personally like that. I think a little bit of restraint and a little bit of getting that debt under control will go a long way. We should be looking at all of this in a zero-based budget way, and nobody is doing that right now.
Mm-hmm. Would you be in favor of maybe looking at giving some of that money and some of that control back to the city council that was taken away from them by this administration?
Well, I think that there is certainly an element when the CEDIT fund, when the CEDIT income tax was originally created in Fort Wayne, Allen County, there was a deal struck between Mayor Helmke and the city council members that gave each of the council members, I believe it was $450,000 and then $450,000 for all three of the at-large members together. And I think that that's a great way to address those neighborhood problems. I think particularly, because the council members are closest to the neighborhoods, and if you have a designated part, and like I said before, I believe in sustaining the neighborhoods, and I thought that those revenues were most well used in that way. So absolutely, all that's happened right now is the mayor's administration has grabbed the city council's authority and is doing the same kinds of projects, but without the connection to the neighborhoods that the council members had.
How well do you think the neighborhoods have fared under this administration?
Well, certainly the administration reduced the number of people working directly with neighborhoods. They cut that in half without reducing the budget. They just shifted the money to something else, probably consultants. I'm being facetious there, although I really do think that's what happened. There are things. Neighborhoods are so well established in Fort Wayne and that leadership is so strong that I think that they are going to be a strong voice for what's best for the community, regardless of who's in the administration. I would like to see more power put with the neighborhoods, because I think that's the grassroots, that's the people of the community. I don't see the mayor at the neighborhood meetings, very rarely when he's doing the State of the City addresses. I go every month. I think it's a great way to stay in touch with what people are really concerned about, and that's going to be a hallmark of my administration.
How important would it also be for you to have a good relationship with the city council? At times it seems they've been at odds with each other.
I think it's crucial. I mean, there's a check and balance with the mayor's office and the city council, and right now it seems to be it can be at times an adversarial role, where they each have a balance of power, and that's appropriate and how it should work, but you need to be strong partners in figuring out how you're going to lead the community. We are all duly elected, and I value the city council members we have in place now. We'll see what that complexion looks like going into next year, but that is the best representation of the community, and I think it's a smart mayor that has a strong relationship with its city council, because if you move people together and have those relationships, then the decision's going to be better all around. It takes more time to get a decision made that way, but I think it's always worth it.
How much of that adversarial relationship between the two do you think has been politics, Republican controlled council, Democratic mayor?
I don't know if it's that so much as really the council and the mayor, neither one of them has cared to nurture that relationship. They haven't looked at ways that they could partner. They've each kind of focused on their own little silo of authority and not looked at the community as a whole. I think it comes more from that. I'm not going to call it partisan politics, because I think that's too easy an answer. I think it comes down to the personalities and the individuals who aren't willing to spend the time to build the relationships.
Any other comments about the state of the city?
Well, I think it's more the same from the Henry administration. We've seen that Mayor Henry is reluctant to take strong positions on things. He wants to talk about the shiny, happy things that are happening. And certainly we should do a better job at celebrating the successes in this community. But you can't do that at the expense of ignoring all of the realities that are facing us. We need that strong leader that's going to stand up and say, I'm going to fight beside you to put the house in order, to build a strong foundation, so this community is going to grow and blossom, and so your kids' kids are going to want to live here.
Okay. Paula, we
All right.
appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Okay.